Autonomy is an illusion. Autonomy is an illusion.
Well, it's that time of week again. It's the time of week where you sit down and turn on your favorite podcasting platform or open the YouTube app and you listen to the next episode of Fans of the West, hosted by
Derf
and Dylan. Boy, it's been one heck of a week.
It's been a few days.
It's been a few days that have passed since the last time we sat down together, and a lot has happened since the last time we've sat down together. I debated not doing the podcast this week.
Yeah.
But, I feel like it was probably I feel good about coming on here and saying things because overall 99% of the sports world, 99.99% of the sports world has been absolutely restoring my faith in humanity after the incident on Monday Night Football between the Bills and the Bengals, where Damar Hamlin suffered cardiac arrest on the field after taking a hit, collapses on the ground, and seemingly, his heart stops, and CPR and AED were administered, and he was taken away in an ambulance to a hospital, Trauma One Care in Cincinnati, and they did not continue the game, thank God. And it was the looks. I'll never. It's almost like I feel like traumatic for almost the whole country, especially the players and the coaches and everyone on the field watching what occurred. Because we're watching the game, we all saw him collapse, thinking maybe concussion,
Right.
and then to go to commercial break, and we come back and there's players crying, there's players taking a knee all around the field, and it's a bizarre scene. And now there's an ambulance on the field, and we don't know what's happening. My initial response was did he have a seizure? This is obviously a lot more than just somebody with a concussion on the field. This is obviously worse. Having no idea, after another commercial break, they come back and Joe Buck informs everyone that CPR was being administered. We've obviously reached a new level here. That's just not good. Fast forward through canceling the game and everything happening. Damar Hamlin's been in the hospital for a few days now. And it seems he's still in critical condition, still on a breathing tube. But there's some signs pointing towards he's recovering slowly. But it's still a very scary situation that he's in. And we're always praying and have him in our thoughts, and his family and friends and everyone involved, teammates. Because I've never experienced, and obviously no one's really, unless you're really old and you watch some other stuff. Some people brought up examples of this happening to, this not exact scenario happening to players in the past, but this has happened, some decades ago. So unless you're really old, a lot of people never experience this, especially on live television. So
Right.
that was a very scary Monday night.
Yeah, it was. You were just kind of what do you do? You didn't want to turn it off at ESPN because you wanted to hear something good, but I give all the credit to the ESPN crew, Joe and Troy, and you know, the three that were in the studio at NFL Live, basically NFL Live studio, you know, Adam Schefter, Booger, and I'm blanking on her name right now.
Booger did a great job.
He did a great, I think he did
Definitely
an
a shout out to
absolute great
Booger. He was
job.
awesome.
And
We've roasted Booger over the years. You know,
yep,
the old Booger mobile. Like we've roasted him in the
right,
past, but he did a good job
yeah.
on Monday night.
No, it was he did what he did the absolute right thing, I think. You know, from my perspective. Um, and then you know you got Scott Van Pelt and Ryan Clark. You know, later in the night, you know when they're in that time slot where they've kind of you ran out of things to say. You know, the game had been postponed finally, um, and they just one after another in these groups here, they did the the best thing that they could do in the situation, and I just give my hats off to them for doing the right thing and you know not worrying about what this game is gonna end up happening, what's gonna end up happening in this game, but the life of a NFL player who he was fighting for it. Um, I think that's where you get a lot of the reactions on the field because of how serious it was in that situation. And you know, I give credit to Sean McDermott on that sideline and being able to bring his team together, and then between him and Zach Taylor, they were just kind of like, nope. We gotta go to the locker room right now. Like we can't do this out here. We gotta regroup. And the commissioner gets on the phone. They talk it out. They all agree that you know we're stopping this game now. It's not going to continue on for the night. Um, and the Bills players were able to you know be together and you know try to heal from the situation. I would that's what I would say. So.
And even the Bills having to turn around just on this coming Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there still has, like we said before, there hasn't been a ton of updates. I mean,
Right.
there's been a couple of minor updates, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's not been like huge changes. And like the Bills still have another game coming up here on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I mean, that is extremely hard. I mean, I can't get some of the faces that we saw from Bills players on that
Yeah.
sideline. Like it's like in like Trey White just absolutely bawling his eyes out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the one moment that I literally can't forget is when, and like I'm not blaming any parties here because at this point we don't really know if this is even true at this point. Where Joe Buck says it looks like they're going to give the players 5 minutes to warm up before the game restarts. That's not my point here. I'm just saying this is the moment. Like he said that, and as he was saying that, they showed Joe Burrow throwing a football. He has his helmet on, throwing the football around.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's warming up, and then they pan the camera over to Josh Allen, and he's just sitting on the bench. His entire his eyes are all red. His whole face is red, and he's just staring off into nothingness.
Yeah.
Like you can like. I'm so glad that they did not play a game because all that would have resulted in was more people probably getting hurt because no one was
Right.
focused at that point. Like so,
Yep.
yeah. I just wanted to echo like good job on the coaches, like both Sean and Zach. Like Zach
Mm-hmm.
handled it with amazing class, both on the field and then in the tunnel. They were on the phone with obviously the commissioner. Probably we'd all have to
Right.
assume there, and then handshakes and hugging it out with Sean. I mean, it was
Mm-hmm.
everything was handled very well in Cincinnati after this. So, whew.
Yeah. I'll say one quick point here to the whole 5 minute thing. I think I think the NFL Troy Vincent from the NFLPA did come out and say that that was never um, a situation that they were going to have in the game. So I think that, I think while we were sitting there stunned of what everything that happened, everyone's on Twitter because Twitter's, your first, quickest reaction, quickest news, to anything. And, I saw so many tweets about people saying, how could you only give them 5 minutes to play, to warm up? How can you make them go back out there? And then once it was becoming very apparent that they weren't going back on the field, the amount of people that just that tweeted out and called for just the NFL was taking so long to suspend this game.
Mm-hmm.
And it to me, I'm sure a lot of people, it felt like eternity that this game took forever to get called. But when you look at the timeline from when the incident happened, it took them 1 hour and 6 minutes.
That's not very long.
It really isn't in perspective. Like,
the thing about like all the people they have to talk to,
all the contacts, all the chains all the chain of command they have to go through. There was a talk between the head coach in the field, the talk with the ref. Then the ref has to communicate to his people, to the officiating crew. Then I think there was the someone higher up in the Monday Night Football organization. She was there, which was who we saw in the tunnel.
Yeah, I was wondering who that was.
With Sean McDermott and Zach Taylor, and I believe Sean Smith was the referee. So, for everything that was going on and being able to shut this game down after 1 hour, I give the NFL credit on that scenario. I know a lot of people were like, as soon as it happened, it should have been immediately shut down.
That's unrealistic.
The NFL never had a contingency plan in place for something like this to happen, because they've never seen a situation where someone literally went into cardiac arrest and they're doing CPR on the field and they're literally trying to bring this man back to life. We've seen it where it's a head injury. We've seen the thumbs up on the stretcher before. We've seen instances where they're able to replay the injury. What seems like sometimes over and over again when they shouldn't be.
Right.
This was something that ESPN, I thought they showed it a couple times because they didn't realize how severe it was. And then as soon as that instance happened, when Bills players were literally surrounding him and facing away to kind of give the paramedics and the training teams and everything privacy to be able to bring this man back to life, it just became very solemn, and and how serious it was. So I give the NFL complete credit for being able to get this postponed in the time they did.
And so, I mean, it's not. I don't even think the teams were really even waiting that long either. Right. I think they agreed before it was even officially announced that they're not playing this game, because I mean they were still on, like, while they were still on the phone and doing all these things, and they announced that, like, Stephon Diggs went to the other locker room like in a towel, like he was already in the shower.
He stepped out of the Bills locker room in a towel, and shaking, and hugging Bengals players. Like, they weren't coming back out here.
Yeah,
they were just they went to the locker room because that was the easiest spot for them to be in private, to be able to really let their emotions out, and wait for news from the NFL. So it was an absolute scary situation Monday night. And Damar Hamlin, this the outpour of generosity for him with it, with his Chasing M's charity. I just saw a little bit ago they're at $6.7 million for a GoFundMe that he started back in 2020 when he was in college, just trying to raise $2,500 for a toy drive in his hometown near Pittsburgh. And that was an absolute outlet for everyone to just try and show support, and just to do what they can, and I absolutely love the support from the entire sports world here for this player because of how serious it was, and the fact that he's still in critical condition. He's still in the ICU. They said that to this morning that there were reports that he was making some improvement from what they were hoping for overnight last night. I believe I saw a report from the marketing rep that he had gone from 100% oxygen supply down to 50% oxygen supply. So I think that's a great step in the right direction. Obviously, Damar has a long way to go to to be able to be as normal as he can. Once he's better. I think people say that his career is probably over, and it very well could be.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of tweets over the last couple of days about the whole Chris Pronger thing,
Right.
where he literally took a slap shot to the chest, had a cardiac arrest event on the ice, and then continued to play 12 more years.
Right.
Obviously, hockey is different than football, but
I mean, I saw that Chris Pronger thing, and I never really looked into it because I was just kind of curious. Like, I'm curious, like how everything after, like everyone, like a lot of people saw the Chris Pronger story and like saw the injury, saw the collapse. Like, I'm curious, like how long it took to resuscitate him compared to Damar. Like, I want to know because he went on to continue to play. It almost feels like this is just like feels so extreme, and like it almost feels like it's almost like how would he be able to play again? It almost feels like it seems like an impossibility.
Right.
But I don't
like
know.
I think there's more. Well, that's another thing too. Is like you don't know what was the extent of damage for Chris Pronger compared to Damar Hamlin, because the lot of talk was, some of the reports we were hearing from the hospital, from the medical center, was, they had to change his body position in the bed because they were worried about lung damage.
Yeah.
Because of having to be resuscitated. I can only imagine what the CPR compressions and the AED did to his chest, and if he's got swelling going on, that's damage that could happen to his lungs down the road, and that's that's something you don't want to mess with, and that could be a deciding factor as to does he ever play another snap again, and that question there is not really for us to worry about right now.
Right.
Even though we brought it up, I still I think you and I think both. I think you and I both agree on this. That we just are hoping and praying that he can continue to get better, and that he keeps fighting.
And we keep an eye on the updates. We've been getting a lot more updates. I tweeted it out that we don't deserve updates. We're not entitled to updates. They give us the updates as they feel, that they want to give out. So
and that's how it should absolutely be.
Yeah, there's no need to go prying for information or doing any speculative things. It's just when they want to tell us something, they'll tell us something. So, and everyone else just keep praying for them and thinking about them, and that's all we can do. Yeah, almost $7 million on the GoFundMe. I think I saw it was up to $5.5 million on jersey sales as well. And Fanatics said that all those sales will be going towards the GoFundMe as well. So if you really want to add it up, we're up to like $12.5 million on his GoFundMe.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's insane. That really is something. And like all the names that are on the GoFundMe, like Russell Wilson's on there, Tom Brady's on there. No, a lot of different team organizations and owners and stuff like that.
Yep.
It's It's really cool to see all this like spread across other sports too. Like the Buffalo Sabres were wearing 3 shirts.
Yep.
And then Tage Thompson. Tage
Yeah.
Thompson, man. Talk about like some of the craziest things you'll ever see in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tage Thompson wore the number 3 shirt to the game. Goes on to score a hat trick, which is 3 goals.
Yep.
It's his 3rd hat trick of the season.
Yep.
And his 3rd goal came 3 minutes into overtime to win the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, oh man, you can't script that stuff. You can't even write that.
Right.
That's
exactly.
just crazy. So it's all a very emotional time for a lot of people and everyone. So it's tough to go and talk about football. I kind of feel like just skipping over the rest of week 17. We can just go and talk about week 18 a bit. I mean, the Seahawks beat the Jets.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So this is basically the main takeaway here is the Seahawks gave up draft position to possibly make the playoffs. That's where we're at. Like,
To possibly, that's not even guaranteed.
right, it's not even guaranteed because they don't even control their own fate, which is like the worst part of all of it.
Right.
Yeah, like they had a 28% chance to make the playoffs, but an 80% chance to miss out on the top 15 draft pick. They did. Yeah, they're I think they're at pick 19 now with that win.
Oh,
So
boy.
they were at like pick 12 last week or something.
But the
Like, they're top
Broncos
15.
pick is still up there in top
Yep,
5.
it's still top 3. It's pretty much locked. It's locked into the top 5.
Okay.
So that's a positive. I don't know who the
I
Broncos
mean,
play.
Broncos.
I mean, the Texans have pretty much locked
I
up.
don't think it really matters.
Like the Texans pretty much locked up the first pick.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Bears are polling Justin Fields for their last game. Nathan Peterman will start. So the Bears are pretty much chalked. So they secured the second pick. So it's really down to the Broncos who play the Chargers.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm curious to see, the Chargers are locked into their playoff spot. So I'm curious to see if the Chargers pull their punches.
Right.
Because the Cardinals will definitely be losing to the 49ers because they're fighting for the first overall seed.
Yep.
So the Broncos really need to lose to hold that 3rd seed. Because if they win, it seems like almost everyone else will lose. And I think at worst it could be the 5th pick, I think. I'm not going to dive too deep into that, but I think that's the worst as it can get is number 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's not the end of the world, I guess. And the favorite bet hit too. The Seahawks won. See, I didn't want them to win, but I just knew they were. Like it's, like it's just. I remember saying that last week. Like I my favorite bet's for them to win. It's not what I want, but it's probably what's going to happen. And here we are. So yeah, all of that leading into week 18. Full of playoff scenarios and situations and stuff to talk about. What do you want to lead with? You want to start with Hawks or you want to go talk some more Bills and Pats?
I don't know. Doesn't bother me. It was very hard to make notes for Bills Patriots.
Yeah, that's fair.
Not gonna
It's a very weird scenario. So I mean, we can start with Seahawks here.
All right.
We'll try and end on the most positive note as possible here. The Rams are going to be coming to Seattle to spoil the playoff race. I mean, it's Bobby Wagner's homecoming, and I just saw a comment from Bobby Wagner before the show, which was actually quite jarring to hear. Bobby Wagner said in his return to Seattle that he referred to playing the Seahawks as playing the organization that you felt gave up on you. That's very like upsetting to hear coming from a guy that like all day as we get ready for this game, Seahawks fans and Seahawks media are like, oh, we can't wait to welcome Bobby back. Like, we're all going to be cheering for him. It's going to be nothing like it was with Russell Wilson because, like, we boo him. Everyone loves Bobby. And then he says that. Like, I don't, like, the organization did not give up on Bobby Wagner. We were in a rebuild situation, and his cap hit was going to be over $20 million. And he's an aging linebacker.
Right.
Like, we had his backup in Cody Barton ready to come in, which obviously he's just dog shit.
The Seahawks had him ready, but Cody wasn't ready.
Yeah, he was not ready. I mean, he's gotten better down the stretch. I will give him slight props that he has been better down the stretch. So maybe all this game experience this season has, kind of like got him to where he needs to be. I think there's still room for growth, but he's getting there. But that was just disturbing to hear. Like, you're going to take a $20 million cap hit during a rebuild. Like, you knew you weren't going to stay here. And it's not because we didn't want you here. It's just because we got to move on just to rebuild. I mean, it's not it's not you, it's us. Like,
Yeah.
like, so that
literally came down to business.
Like, I hope he's just saying that, like, for motivation. And it's not like he doesn't really mean that. That's kind of what I'm telling myself. That's almost like really hard to hear. It's like, because everyone was like really loving and hoping like, oh, it's gonna be so fun to have Bobby back in Seattle. And then he's like, okay, alrighty then. Didn't see that one coming. I got my 3 matchups here. I actually have 3 this week. The first one is actually going to be Stone Forsythe versus literally the entire defense. Because Abe Lucas is out at right tackle. He has some kind of injury. I forget what it is. So he's been out the past couple games. So Forsythe has had to step up. He's our 6th round draft pick from 2 years ago from Florida. And the big gripe about Stone Forsythe was he was very good at pass blocking, but he couldn't run block because they didn't run the ball in Florida. They just threw the ball 50 times a game. So it's like, yeah, he knows how to pass block, but he can't run block because they ran the ball 3 times a game. Complete opposite of like Air Force, like Air Force and Army and all them. Complete opposite. He has not been great at pass blocking. I mean, obviously he hasn't played like live snaps in pretty much 2 years. He's been kind of rough. So going against a defensive front of the Rams, who have some of the best defensive ends and outside linebackers in the league, he's going to have his hands full with the Rams. So I'm very scared for him and for Geno Smith. Hopefully we're going into this game with a pretty heavy run plan. I would, because they're not going to have Aaron Donald. He's been done for the season for a while now. If you want to go ahead and just run the ball a bunch and try and keep that pressure off of Stone and off of Geno, that's probably a good idea. But if they're going to abuse some spot on the line on the defensive side, it's going to be at Stone. Number 2 is a little less game planny. It's Geno Smith versus the record books. Geno Smith, and here I want to get this out of the way first. We all know there's 18 games now, 17 games, whatever the number is. We all know. We're aware. It's been happening now. Records are going to be broken, and whether you want to put it in a new rule book or not, I don't care at this point. Like,
right.
Guess what? They moved from 14 to 16 games back in like the 80s, and people pretty much have just forgotten because that's what happens. So records are going to be broken. Suck an egg. All right. So Geno Smith's on the verge of a 70% season-long completion percentage, which is extremely impressive in itself.
It's very impressive.
And he's only 143 yards away from passing Russell Wilson as the most passing yards in a single season from a Seahawks quarterback.
That's great, but I feel like I'm very surprised.
Right? He's sitting at 4,069 yards right now, and I think it was like 4,212. I think is Russell Wilson's Seahawks record. So 143 yards away. Yeah,
he's got it.
He's got it in the bag, right? You'd like to. Yeah. You sure as shit would like to think. So that's very fun. So that I think we're just looking forward to possibly that happening, and Geno Smith basically just steps up and says, "Oh, you think Russell Wilson's the best Seahawks quarterback ever? try this on for size. So I think that's just like a really fun thing to look towards. And then also Kenneth Walker is only like a couple short yards away from 1,000-yard rushing season as well. So hopefully he can hit that mark as well. It'd be a fun last game to see him hit 1,000 yards. Geno gets the Seahawks passing record. I mean, it'll just be a lot of fun on Sunday. And then last but not least here is Laquan Treadwell. Kind of going up against his history here. Marquise Goodwin is done for the year. Lockett's still banged up. He had his hand surgery thing, but he also did something to his leg this last game. He'll probably play, but overall it's been tough sledding for the wide receiver group for the Seahawks lately. Like Laquan Treadwell stepped up pretty big last week. Like he caught a couple of balls in the second half where it's like, okay, there's that guy that was drafted in the first round like 10 years ago. It was like 4 years ago, but still. But yeah, first round draft pick by the Vikings never panned out, and now he's here with the Seahawks trying to make a name for himself. And I feel like with Goodwin going down, he gave himself a shot. 2 weeks ago, he looked pretty bad in his first action out, but last week he looked pretty good. So I'm really looking for him to step up again big this week. I feel like he virtually comes into this almost as the wide receiver too, because I don't know what Lockett's status is. Even if he does play, it's going to be like, he'll be out there, but at what capacity?
Right.
So I'm looking forward to him getting like 5+ targets. I think it'll be a lot of fun just to kind of see what, if he has a big game, maybe he's back next season. And Marquise Goodwin has been good, but he's also old. Treadwell, not as old. So maybe he's our wide receiver 3 next year if he can, impress us here in week 18. And then my other point here real quick is the controversy we had with the NFL scheduling department. As everyone is well aware, instead of having the Lions and Packers play in the same time frame, which is the other game that has the playoff implications, they put them on Sunday Night Football. So the problem is if the Seahawks win, the Lions are eliminated. And the Lions could easily just kind of go, well, that sucks, and then just sail it in. And then the Packers win, and the Seahawks are now out, and the Packers are in.
Right.
This is all if the Seahawks win, by the way. If the Seahawks lose, none of this matters. But if the Seahawks win, I'm going to make that very clear. Everyone's just assuming this is a win. Like let's get through this game first, If they win. So if they win, Dan Campbell did come out, and he's aware of the situation. I think he knows. He came out and said, we don't care what happens in Seattle. We're going to go out there and act like this is a playoff game. Because if anything, you can end the season with 9 wins, which is like the last time a Lions team has had 9 wins in a season, be above 500. And then they also get to knock out their division rival, their division opponent out of the playoffs with a win. I mean, I feel like this is like a huge W for the Lions. Even if the Seahawks win and they get knocked out, like they could play spoiler to their division rival. So we're all kind of. I saw something that whether it was a joke or not, Quandre Diggs reached out to the Lions like on social media and said, "Hey, if you guys beat the Packers, like dinner's on me for the whole team. Like, please do it." And obviously, I'm on full board for the Seahawks winning this weekend and possibly getting a playoff spot. We've basically just chalked out of this top 15 garbage. The draft pick is chalked, so let's just go for it. Let's get the win. Let's see what happens. Let's have a playoff push. This will be a grand old time. And then we get to play the 49ers for the, pending a disaster, and the 49ers get the first overall seed, which seems unlikely, but you never know, I guess.
So you end up with the Eagles?
We'd end up with the Eagles then, which would be, I think, probably worse but by a long shot. But in most likely scenarios, we play the Niners for a third time. So we can get 0-3 swept by the Niners in one season. That would be a great feeling. Thanks, guys. My favorite bet for this weekend is actually going to be Noah Fant to score a touchdown. A tight end scored a touchdown in the Seahawks game for the Seahawks in 4 of their 5 last games. 3 of them have been to Fant, and 1 was to Coley Parkinson, which was last week. So I think a tight end gets on the board again, and I'm going with Fant.
All right. Not gonna go with that.
Tyler
Was it that
Mabry.
Mabry
If he gets back-to-back weeks with a touchdown, man, I wouldn't even be mad. Like, that'd be
contract
cool.
extension right off the bat?
Let's do it. Like, we'll let go Will Dissly because he's obviously too injury prone to continue on this team. I love Will Dissly. I love Uncle Will. He's a great guy. He's a very talented tight end. But dude, he's been hurt. I think like every single year he gets a season-ending injury. Every
Right.
year with this guy. So it's like, I would love to see Colby Parkinson be more involved because as we all saw last week, he was heavily involved in the game and he was great. The dude is like 6'9". Like, he is a monster out there. He is huge. And so is Noah Fant. He's obviously he reminds me of Jimmy Graham so much. Like just his body type. Like he like
Right.
I see him on the field, I'm like, oh wow, Jimmy Graham's still on the team. Like that, he just reminds me of him so much. And now we got Tyler Mabry apparently. So as much as I love Uncle Will, I don't know if he's going to be a Seahawk next year after all these injuries. So I do think the Seahawks win, though. I'm manifesting positivity. So go Hawks.
Do it.
Let's see what we got here with a very interesting matchup. Obviously, we're not going to be knowing what's going to happen with seeding, but it's still. I feel like it's still. The Bills still have to go out there and catch a W. So what do we got?
Yeah. So Bills are playing the Patriots in Orchard Park this weekend. I believe it's still at 1:00. That was the Week 18 slate that they were scheduled before Monday night happened. I know like the Bengals Ravens game was up in the air depending on if the Bills won or the Bengals won, and the NFL said, you just go to 1:00. You're good. You're done. A lot of people were like, "Oh, I haven't heard anything of the Bills Patriots game. What time that's going to be?" They said it 3 days ago. It's at 1:00. Like, just no one. Like, I mean, obviously things could change.
Yeah.
The Bills, NFL could say, "All right, we're moving this to 4:00 or something, or later or something like that." But more than likely, it's going to stay at 1. Keep it. I think that's kind of like a let's put the Bills players back in to a routine.
Yeah, 1:00's like a normal slot.
Normal time slot for them. Kind of helps them not necessarily desensitized from the situation, but kind of helps them get back to normal and to be able to deal with the situation that happened on Monday night. More reasonably, not just being like
let's throw them back in prime time, Saturday game.
Like you don't want to throw them in prime time on Sunday either, because you don't want them to be super hyper focused and worried about stuff all day, and then get to the game and then they lost everything they had worked on the last couple of days, and then you get the Bills team is kind of not knowing what to do, and there goes the Patriots winning or something. I don't know. Who knows? But first matchup point here, which we just kind of talked about a little bit, is can the Bills players Bills players and staff, everyone be in the right headspace to make this game competitive? After what happened Monday night with Damar Hamlin and everything that they've been so focused on the last couple of days, just trying to send that positive energy to Damar Hamlin, trying to just hear any good news from anyone about him, and just literally putting football on the back burner and making this about a human. It begs the question: do the Bills even care about winning this game?
Yeah.
The Bills have had, not to be like, oh, poor me, but the Bills have literally had their hand tied behind their back all season, and they've still been pretty well. They've done pretty well.
Well, they won 6 straight leading up to,
Right.
they're still winning whether people like the way they win or not. I mean, it's been ugly, but
like they got pounded twice with snowstorms, got stuck in Chicago, had to go to Detroit for a game because Buffalo got 8 feet of snow. They had what happened on Monday night.
Josh Allen's injury.
Josh Allen's elbow injury was an issue for a few weeks.
They lost Poyer for a while.
They lost Micah Hyde for the season.
Yep.
Jordan Poyer was out for a couple games. They lost Von Miller in Week 12 against the Lions. They didn't get Tre'Davious White back until the Lions game, which was surprising, but took a lot longer than probably they anticipated. They earlier in the season they dealt with supported Dawson Knox with his brother passing. It's been a lot of adversity for this Buffalo Bills team, and they've been able to overcome that. And I think that just shows you the kind of players that are on this team, but also the kind of coaching staff that's on this team. And that's Sean McDermott doing absolutely everything he can to help his players not only be better players, but be better people. And, the Bills could come into this game and be like, we're not really, it's a tough game. There's a lot on our minds. And I completely understand that. They could also come into this game and being like, we are doing this for Damar. We are going to pound you into the ground. We are going to score on 8 straight drives, no punts, and the Patriots get a lousy field goal. There's those two extremes. Or we could have a nice competitive game on Sunday. I just don't see that middle ground being there.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be one or the other. And
it's going to be tough to go in there and have a mental battle with Bill Belichick, like the way he likes to coach against teams. That's going to be tough to do.
The positive thing is it's in Buffalo.
Yeah.
It's in front of Bills Mafia. Bills Mafia is going to be there and just completely be supporting this Bills team.
It's going to be such a great environment. I can't.
Oh, absolutely.
Whew.
So, you wonder about what kind of headspace these Bills players are going to be in to make this competitive. And I think that's an obvious point to be watching. Because they literally did not finish a Week 17 game. And so there's that. Kind of a little bit of football information from the game. The next point here is, is Josh Allen going to be able to be mobile like he wants to be, based on the apparent ankle injury that he suffered on the Bills' first drive. I believe it was on the pass to Cole Beasley that was just outside of his reach, or hit him in the hands, but wasn't able to reel it in. It looked like he had kind of been a Bengals player kind of rolled up on his ankle a little bit. So obviously
dirty play.
It looked a little dirty. I wasn't going to go there, but it looked a little dirty.
When I watched it back, I was like, it looks like it took an extra roll there, in my opinion. I don't know.
Bit.
Yeah.
Little bit.
I don't want to make assumptions, but I don't know.
On a scale of filthy to clean, your mama's giving you soap.
Yep.
So
yeah, that's it. That's the analogy we wanted. That wasn't nailed it.
So obviously Allen was prepared. They were taping his ankle. They were getting him ready to go. He was probably going to be able to be fine. The fact that they were just taping it up, it was kind of like, all right, make an adjustment. Here we go. He's probably fine. It's listed on the injury report this week already for today's walkthrough practice, but he was a full participant. It's probably nothing to be worried about. But if there's anything the Patriots can do to slow Josh Allen down, they're going to be hitting him a little on the lower side and hoping they can get that ankle and do a little twist and shout.
A little tenderize it a little.
A little bit. Can they get close to him? Probably. Will they consistently? I don't know.
Matthew Judon has been a beast for them. The Patriots pass rush has quietly been one of the best pass rushes in the league, top 5.
And the easiest way to beat that?
Run the ball.
Well, there's that. I would say quick pass.
Oh, quick passes too. That's
Gets
true.
the ball out of the quarterback's hands quick. It's either over the middle or to the side, as a screen, a wide receiver screen. And that's how you get that defensive line for the Patriots to kind of not be able to
pull up
full bore.
Yeah,
you get them to pull up a little bit. So there's that. And then the last thing here is I'm just looking for Stephon Diggs to have an absolutely big day. He deserves it, and that's pretty much all I got on this one. The dude has done so much lately. He just give me a Stephon Diggs 2 touchdowns, 150 yards, and just incredible.
Let him be the wide receiver one for the day. Yeah.
Right.
Let him be
Yep.
the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, another third point. Other points here, I just, kind of similar to what you said about the whole Seahawks playing before the Lions-Packers game and the Lions knowing what's going on. The Bills are going to know if they can regain the number 1 seed before the game on Sunday because the Chiefs and Raiders play Saturday afternoon. The Bills will know if there's a shot at getting the 1 seed.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm a little surprised that the Chiefs got the Saturday afternoon game. I completely agree with that the Titans-Jaguars game be Saturday night.
Yeah.
Because I think that game's going to be amazing for the Jaguars. Now that I say that, Derrick Henry's going to run for 250 yards and 4 touchdowns, but
he got a week of rest, so I mean he's ready to go. That's for sure.
So this whole what's going to happen. The Bills probably don't really care what happens. They just they know they want to play football. They know they're trying to get back into the normal routine. I think the number 1 seed would be great for the Bills. I think it would give them that extra week, give them what they need to do, and help them get things done. So
I'm almost on the side that like the Chiefs Raiders should have been the Sunday night game.
That would have been nice.
Because then if you put the Lions Packers on Saturday instead, then the Seahawks would know if they're in or out, and then that doesn't really impact much.
Right.
Because it's not like the other team they're playing has playoff implications. Because like the Seahawks winning and losing has playoff implications for both teams that are playing Sunday night. Like the timing of where they slotted that is just terrible, and they had other options. So,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Because I mean, if the Lions win and knock the Packers out, well then the Seahawks need to win. If the Packers win, well then they're just in, and the Seahawks don't have to worry about anything. It's just over.
Right.
But now it's like, yeah, I don't know. So I just have a bad vibe about the whole thing. That I don't know why they did it the way they did. So that's
very true. And then favorite bet here, Bills -7.
Oh, we're just gonna poop on the Patriots, yeah.
Yep.
Definitely. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. Real quick to round out the show, like super fast. We got Pro Football Hall of Fame announcements. Let's see what we got here. Darrelle Revis is named a finalist for the class of 2023. So is Joe Thomas, the offensive lineman. Everyone knows Joe Thomas. Andre Johnson, Reggie Wayne, and Torrey Holt also finalists. Steve Smith Sr. did not make the list. Devin Hester is on the list. DeMarcus Ware, Dwight Freeney, and Jared Allen are finalists. See the rest of the list here. Darrelle Revis, Joe Thomas, Devin Hester, Torrey Holt, Reggie Wayne, Andre Johnson, Dwight Freeney, Jared Allen, Patrick Willis. There's a name you haven't heard in a long time.
Oh, wow. It's been a while.
Yeah, DeMarcus Ware, Zach Thomas, I'm not sure who that is. Darren Woodson, Rondé Barber is back on the list. Albert Lewis and Willie Anderson. Ooh, little Willie. Little Willie. Whoops, I didn't mean to. That's semifinalists who came up short this year. Steve Smith Sr. That's a short joke. That's not nice. Anquan Bolden, Fred Taylor, Hines Ward, James Harrison, London Fletcher. Oh, no. Vince Wilfork. Oh, Robert Mathis, Rodney Harrison, Jahari Evans, Ricky Waters, Henry Allard, and Eric Allen. Only 5 out of the 15 names that we listed before will make the Hall of Fame.
Wow.
I feel like Darrelle Revis is pretty much in.
Right.
I feel like Joe Thomas should get in, but I'm not sure. I don't think Devin Hester gets in. I know he's like the greatest returner. Like maybe he gets in just because of that, but like I feel like that's kind of guy. Like the rest of this list, I mean, you still got Torrey Holt, Reggie Wayne on here. Andre Johnson, I feel like can wait. Dwight Freeney, I feel like Freeney should be getting in.
Mm-hmm.
DeMarcus Ware. Like if I had to pick 5 out of here, boy, it's tough. I don't want to drag on it for too long because it's the end of the show here. I want to let everyone go. But there's your list. It's something to think about. Who's your 5 that you have getting in? That'll be your thought process here. We did not run the poll for the fantasy football punishment because I suck at my job. So maybe we'll run that this week. So keep your eye on Twitter. Maybe you'll see the poll this week. Maybe.
There you go.
Hopefully. So this has been the 18th episode of Fans of the Week with your hosts,
Derf
and Dylan. We pray for Damar, keeping him close to our hearts for a full recovery. So looking forward to positive updates as the week goes on. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
I guess go Hawks too. We're still in the playoff race. I guess we can do that.